Oh, is this thing on? Hello. Oh, I've never gone live on YouTube before, so this is going to be rather interesting. Hi. Hello. You're going to see why there's so many jump cuts in all of my videos, because I and ah and stutter a surprising amount. So this is going to be interesting. So I'm curious as to who's here. Pop your name in the chat. Pop your name in the chat. Say where you're from. I don't mind. We can. Welcome to the my 1,000 subscriber live stream, which is really strange for me because I never thought this was going to happen at all. I've had some people send in some questions to me on PMs on Twitter, so I will be answering those as the live stream goes on. But if you want to give some questions as well, oh, hi. Very nice to meet you. Is it pronounced Malin? I don't want to pronounce names wrong. I'm terrible. Hi, Alicia. Oh, that's really sweet. I'm so excited. So yeah, if you've got any questions, throw them in the chat. I'm more than happy to talk about LARP, talk about me. You don't want to talk about me, trust me. And hopefully we'll have a reasonably good evening, I hope. So I'll kick off with the question that I got asked on Twitter, which was, how did I choose my channel name? Which is obviously quite weird because it's called Our Adventuring Party, which implies plural people. And there's only myself. And the reason is twofold. I, number one, wanted to include my family because I'm obviously married and I have my son, and I thought that would be really cool and really interesting. And the other is super cheesy because when you call it Our Adventuring Party, that includes you. So it's like you're members of this party as well. Terribly sad, I know. So please forgive me for involving you in this. Oh, some more people are arriving. Hello. It is a very small chat. I'm just very grateful to meet anybody, to be honest. Oh, I want to know all about you lot now. Tell me about yourselves, please. I'm very interested. Oh. Sorry, I get nervous. So what other questions did I get asked? How did I wrote on a piece of paper like a professional. How did I get into LARP? So I got into LARP when I was 17. And I read about it online, and I promptly did not go LARPing at all for 5 years after that, because I had no one to go with. My boyfriend at the time, lovely but very shy, didn't want to go at all. And so I kind of just let it go until I met my current husband, who'd actually been LARPing before. And I made him tell me all about it, and I was really excited and I really wanted to know. So I managed to convince him to take me to an event, and I've not stopped. Yeah, that was when I was about 22, which is far longer ago than I want to admit. But yeah, so it was, I basically almost bullied him into taking me. Oh, that's sweet. Sorry, just a quick look in the chat. Oh, no, that is really, really sweet. Thank you. I'm glad you're really, really enjoying it. It's by far the best hobby I think I've ever had. And I've tried out quite a few. Oh, God. I'm not used to compliments because I'm an idiot. So no, it's always nice to sort of get comments and sort of people saying that they actually, find my channel helpful. What else can I talk about? Because this was a terrible idea. Oh, I'm so glad. Yay. I'll tell you about my first LARP event because that was an interesting one because hell broke loose. I say my first LARP event. It probably wasn't technically my first one. I went to a smaller event previously. But the first big event I went to was the gathering for the Lorien Trust here in the UK about 9 years ago. And I remember it very distinctly because the weather was terrible. It rained almost the entire weekend. And the thing that stood out the most for me was the fact that the entire game nearly went to war. A large number of people died. And keep in mind, this is a game with over 1,000 people. So that's rather dramatic. And I ended up guarding a gate while people were coming in and out of our camp to claim hostages that we had taken. And it was the strangest and most exhilarating experience I think I'd ever had. And I've just never stopped going, which is... I just can't explain it really. It is really just the best hobby I've ever had, and I keep saying that. And this is, like I said, why I have lots of jump cuts in my videos, because I just talk bullshit at a camera until something makes sense. So please forgive me. Do you guys have any questions for me? Because I love answering questions. And it makes my life a lot easier because I spend way too much time trying to think of things to tell people about LARP. So I would really appreciate if anyone has anything to actually ask me. If not, I'm going to keep rambling on with the questions that I have got from Twitter, some of which are rather long and rather rambling, and you will probably get annoyed with them. Oh, so do I have any tips for staying in touch after LARP or having a regular group? So when you say staying in touch after LARP, do you mean with people you meet? Because I'll tell you that is probably one of the easiest things in the world, because you all add each other on social media. Like if the LARP you goes to has a Facebook group, trust me, everyone's there. And sometimes for weeks and weeks and weeks after an event until the next one. I've got to learn to breathe. So the LARP event I go to, my main one anyway, I go to quite a few. My main one that I go to is, like I said, the Lorien Trust. That runs 4 mainlines a year. So that's 4 events, 2 in May and 2 in August. And sometimes smaller ones in between, but those are the 4 big ones. The way my friends talk on our Facebook pages, you'd think it ran every week, because everyone stays in touch. You don't lose touch with almost anybody. And social media has been a big one for that, especially over the lockdowns that we've had here in the UK, because obviously LARPers are all rather spread out and you don't see each other. So yeah, social media has actually been a really big one for that. I've got a couple of friends over in Ireland who I obviously haven't seen in quite a while. Social media's been really great for that, and it's making it not as different, except for the part where events were not running. In regards to having a regular group, I feel like that's a bit of a tricky one, because I don't actually have what you would say is a regular group, because I go LARPing with my friends once every few months. I know that there are LARP groups that run every week, and that sounds awesome. I don't go to one. And that's not because I don't want to, it's just because there isn't anyone around here where I live. I live in sort of the centre of England. If you want to find one, it's not as hard as you think. What you basically need to do is go online. The internet is a magical place where you will find pretty much anything you need to do with LARP. Go on Facebook, go to larping.org, even just go to Google and just type in where you live and LARP events and just see what shows up. It's probably more than you think will. Yeah, I get that. Most LARPs sort of in the UK are mostly in the summer as well. Obviously, our winters are not as cold as yours are in Sweden. But no, I get it. It's only sort of, it kind of is a seasonal hobby, if you know what I mean. But that's still okay. You keep in touch over the winter. People like to do things like write letters to each other or role play online, or even just meet up for chats on Zoom. The greatest winner of the pandemic. It's not as tricky as you think it is. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to grab a drink. I ramble when I'm nervous. So what should I tell you about? Oh, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, letter writing is really fun. Some people I know make a sort of big thing. Hello. New people. Hi, from Colorado. Oh, wow. I've never been to Colorado. I've never been to the US, actually, so that's a stupid thing to say. I want to go to the US very much, though. It's actually on the list for my next big sort of holiday. I want to go to the US. I want to go try and sort of snake around. I can't say I want to go everywhere because not that I don't want to go everywhere. It's just that's a large number of states. But I do want to go LARPing in the US. I want to see if I can go to Twin Mask in California. And my other big ones, I want to go to the Galactic Star Cruiser LARP that they have at Disneyland. Oh, I'm sure it is lovely. I'm sure it is lovely. I know that I've seen pictures of Colorado. I know it's a beautiful state. I've never been to the US, so no, I want to go there so badly. No, like I said, it is on my sort of list at the moment, and I'm kind of just planning my way around. I'm going to try to get to Evermore in Utah as well, and try and do that sort of, wonderful immersive experiences all the way around the US and see how it goes, and then maybe shoot up to Canada for Be Clean. Your part of the world's so much more interesting than mine. I'm here in rainy old England. Speaking of which, yeah, so one of the questions I did get asked was, what is my dream LARP? And my dream LARP is entirely the Galactic Star Cruiser at Star Wars Galaxy Edge. Because I am a massive Star Wars nerd, and some people have noticed that I do have an X-Wing tattoo on my wrist because I am really, really far too much into Star Wars. Yeah, I believe you with the hot weather. It does look beautifully warm. It's mild here. It's wet. It's wet, and it's sometimes warm and sometimes not. If you ever want anything that's, basically okay, the UK is definitely the place to go. But yeah, like I say, so the LARP I really want to do is Galactic Star Cruiser, which obviously will cost me my kidney. Because why is it so blooming expensive to go and be a Jedi somewhere? What LARP do you normally attend where you are from? Okay, so I am I'm English. That didn't come across with the almost BBC Queen's English accent that I somehow produce. The LARP I usually go to, I mentioned this earlier, so I'm sorry for repeating myself, is the Lorien Trust, which is held in a little town called Spondon in Derbyshire, which is in the centre of the country, and is most famous for Pride and Prejudice, if you've ever read that. And it's a festival style LARP, so there's over 1,000 people, sometimes as many as 2,000 people, depending on, whether people actually decide to go. Some people only come once a year. Loco Park does indeed have its own microclimate. It's quite impressive, really. We watch weather go around it because of the way the park is situated. It's quite impressive. The Lorien Trust is a fantasy LARP, so it's based in a world called Adrea, which is essentially a dragon egg floating through space, and it's got all those things that sort of the world has. It's got continents, it's got oceans, and everyone in it is kind of living this semi-medieval fantasy life, but based around sort of different cultures. I was in a faction called the Lions, who were kind of partially based on Arthurian England and partially on the Romans. It does work. I'm not in them at the moment because I'm currently leading a guild, which is... Oh, no, don't worry about asking a question that's already asked. I don't mind. I hope other people, I'm sure, don't mind either. Yeah, and I currently lead a guild there. I'm in charge of the Rangers Guild, so we do with archery and, you know, tracking down monsters. We're generally considered to be probably the worst guild on Adrea, just because people don't like archery. But we're working really hard to change that and terrifying people. But yeah, so that's sort of the game I'm in at the moment as my big game. I've got another game coming up in March, which I haven't been to before because it's its first event, and that's called The Wild Hunt. And it's kind of based a little bit off The Witcher, a little bit off sort of traditional Fey court stories, and it's going to be quite interesting. I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about that on my video next week because I've got a video series planned leading up to it, and hopefully that will go okay. Oh, more people are arriving. I'm really quite impressed, really, because I'll be honest with you, I was planning on sitting here talking to a camera with nobody here at all. So to have anybody here at all is shocking to me. So I'm sorry if I'm getting thrown off. I'm not saying we're the worst guild. Other people think we're the worst guild. It's fine. We have a load of fun. And in my opinion, we are the best guild in the whole of Adrea. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in charge. And anything that goes down with them reflects on me personally. No, this is really exciting. I'm surprised that people are here. How are you? What kind of LARPs do you all go to? Do you go to LARPs at all? Or are you learning about LARP? Or I know someone, I'm trying to work out who Miracle Draw is, because clearly you know me personally, which means I have to be careful as to what I say. My instinct is my mate Wes, because just instincts. Nero Expedition. That sounds amazing. Is that like a sci-fi one? I hope so, because I've never done sci-fi. Oh, God. I've never done a sci-fi lot. There's a few around me. I know some people who run one called Orion Sphere in here in the UK, which I'm desperate to go to, especially since it's family-friendly, which means I can bring my son. But though I've never taken him LARPing before, so, well, that's not strictly true, but not properly. Oh, high fantasy. Oh, I do love high fantasy. High fantasy, I think, is probably my favourite genre of LARP. Mainly because I'm just a massive fantasy nerd. Oh, come on, you're killing me. Of course it's in the mountains with beautiful sight. You're in Colorado. That's how this works with, you know, beautiful scenery. I live in a city in the centre of Nottingham that's just like concrete and trees. And I wish that was an exaggeration. Just, yeah. I do want to do a sci-fi LARP. I know I keep saying that, and I keep going on about Galactic Star Cruiser as well, but that's because I'm gutted that I can't afford it. Seriously, who charges $6,000 for a weekend? Especially when that doesn't include my flight. Yeah, big Star Wars nerd to people who are just arriving. I will go on about Star Wars for quite a while. Yeah, it is absolute bomb. And it looks really cool though, and like that, I hope the food's at least included. Because otherwise that's going to be really, really not good. So hi new people. Welcome to whatever the hell this is. Throw your name. Tell me a bit yourself about. I can speak English, I promise. Tell me a bit about yourselves in the chat. If you want to ask me some questions, throw that in there as well. I am very much in favour of answering your questions rather than just talking drivel about myself. Let's see. While I'm waiting, I will go back to drivel because I have a list of drivel. Let's see. What character am I planning on playing next? Well, I have two that I have in mind. One whom I'm definitely playing and one who is planned. So I'm playing a character for The Wild Hunt, which is a LARP I told some people about a bit earlier, which is sort of based on Fey Courts, based on horror, based on a little on The Wild Hunt in The Witcher. And I am playing a character in it who is essentially a monster hunter because I am a Witcher cliche. And I decided to change it up a little bit, and I'm actually basing her on Little Red Riding Hood. But being a massive monster hunter killer version of Little Red Riding Hood. Kind of based a little bit on a similar character who was in Fable, one who was in a Roald Dahl poem. If you've never read Roald Dahl's version of Little Red Riding Hood, do. It is hilarious and horrifying all at the same time. And a little bit on... Oh, I can't remember who I wrote a list. Wiglarp. John, is that you? It's John, I bet you it's John. Sorry. John's one of my best mates. If that is him. It's not that unique. There's many sort of, wolf murdering Little Red Riding Hoods in the world, to be honest. But I kind of got the idea from playing... If you've never played the game Fable, it's one of my favourite games of all time, absolutely brilliant. But there's a monster in it called a Balverine. And I remember it very distinctly because it was the first monster that I ever encountered in a video game where I just went, die, 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 die. Couldn't look at it at all. And so... for some reason that kind of popped in my head, and I was just like, I want to be somebody who kills werewolves. Oh, Alex! I didn't laugh. I didn't laugh at it. Might not be Alex now. I've lost all track of things. Whoever it is going to kill me when you guessed 4 or 5 times and you were wrong every single time. Anyway, so going back to Fable. If you've never played the Fable games, really do, because they are absolutely fantastic and they are one of the most artistically beautiful games. Yeah, I've gone over it. I don't know who I am. I'll be honest with you, I've had a drink. Either put your name in the chat or I'm just going to die. See, this is what happens when I don't think. I should have planned. Yeah, play the Fable games. They're amazing. I wanted to basically just be a character who kills a ton of werewolves. I didn't laugh at you either, James. We're going to have words when I see you next. Yeah, I wanted to be a Little Red Riding Hood who killed werewolves, I've now said for the 8th time. So yeah, that's a character I'm actually going to be playing in March, and I've got to finish building her, finish doing her costume. It's going to be chaos. I'm going to tell you more about it sort of over the next month and a half. And the other character I'm desperate to play is I'm really desperate to play a half-orc bard, because I've kind of fallen in love with that concept over the last sort of few months while I've been sitting around thinking about fantasy roleplay. So I really, really want to play an orc bard, but not sort of but really kind of posh one. So think like Dandelion from The Witcher, but an orc. So green skin, tusks. I'm going to be playing a lyre and in a Shakespearean style hat, and it's going to be amazing. And I hope I either confuse a ton of people or make them all just fall in love with her. More likely I'm going to get stabbed, but we'll see how it goes. So those are kind of the 2 LARP characters I have in my head at the moment. I need more because I want more LARPs to go to. So if you guys have any ideas for characters, let me know, because I always appreciate advice. The process from concept to actually embodying a character. Oh God. So this is actually what my video series is going to be about over the next few months. But I will sort of give you a bit of a short version because I don't want to tell you everything that's coming up in my videos right away. So it's kind of going sort of with stages. So you kind of have to start with, obviously, what's your basic idea? And sometimes that can be quite tricky. Sometimes I have no characters ideas for months and months and months, and that's absolutely awful. But you get it. I tend to go, no, it's fine, don't worry. So come up with the concept. That's the basic thing first. Then you kind of have to start looking at what your character, who your character is going to be. And I always do this before I go into costume because that makes life a ton easier. I have a method that I call my 5-3-2-1 method. Yep, 5-3-2-1, which is based around the idea of five major events of your life, 3 personality traits, 2 negative traits, and 1 secret, which is essentially your character's motivation. And I use that method essentially to build something quite simple, and then you can kind of add fluff to it and make it bigger. And once you've got those things in place, then you can kind of go on to costume. Because if you know what your character's personality is going to be like and what happened in their life, then you know what kind of clothes they're going to wear, what kind of accessories do they have? Do they have like heirlooms, or do they have trophies? You know, all those sort of little things that go make a costume go from being an outfit to essentially a person. And then from there, I kind of go into getting into character, which does in fact sometimes include mannerisms for each character. For instance, just a spoiler about my Little Red Riding Hood character, because I've decided to base her off the original Little Red Riding Hood character, essentially the first written one, but I'll explain that eventually. She's going to be French because the stories, the first written version was French. So I'm doing a lot of reading sort of into French accents that don't sound offensive, as well as sort of little sort of mannerisms that French people might have, as well as, you know, the time period she's from, because she's from just after the time of the Sun King, but before the French Revolution. So it's kind of that period where people were starving, but also there was a lot of, you know, art and culture at the time. So I am trying to work out how that is. I also, really random thing, one thing I absolutely love is I love picking out favorite foods for my characters. And that's not just because I'm overweight and I love to eat, but because I feel like mundane things like food and drink and, you know, favorite books are kind of what helps make characters real. So yeah, that's kind of how you go from one end to the other. It will make more sense in this video series. I'm breaking it down, and there's going to be a lot of detail. I'm currently writing out the actual character building bit right now, which is so long. It's going to be a terribly long video, and I've got to try and cut it down a bit because I just want to tell you all about her, and it's a bit insane. Sorry, I'm just reading things now, and I really need to keep talking. I'm glad that the 5-4-3-2-1 method has helped. It's quite a simple sort of thing, and allows you to sort of bulk up, but you don't go too over the top, because I find that one of my biggest peeves when people write characters is that they write this massive backstory of all these amazing things their character has done, and then they can never ever actually live up to it when they're playing that character. There's no point in sort of saying my character was the greatest blacksmith and forged this ancient armor that, you know, was worn to defeat the great dragon. It's like, you're never going to make that again. You're never going to make that in a game. So why say that you did? Let build up on that character and sort of, feel like you've achieved something rather than just sort of added an, appendix to their story. I'm so glad that your groups found my videos helpful, because I always feel like that I'm just kind of sending them out into the unknown, and people don't actually find them useful, and I don't know. I know people watch them and I've got likes on them. For some reason, my brain still goes, people don't actually care about things you put on the internet. So it's nice to say that people are actually using them. And yes, favorite breakfasts are amazing. What is fig marmalade? I know what marmalade is, obviously, but I've never had fig marmalade. It does sound amazing. I really want some. And I may have to see if I can find some for Christmas, because that sounds great. I'm getting hungry now, and there's gummy bears just next door. I really should focus. My plans for my next LT character. You're going to steal my LT character, James. My next LT character is probably going to be the Orc Bard that I was talking about earlier. I really want to sort of, go full bright green, fangs, and a lute, and just stroll around, confusing orcs everywhere. That's what I'm desperate to do right now, James, to be honest. Yeah, I get that it's a marmalade based on figs, but I don't know what that tastes like. Sounds amazing. Oh, dear. Oh, I've completely lost thought. But yeah, so that's going back to building characters. Other people do it in a different way. I know a lot of people like to focus on costumes because that's like, the coolest part of LARP. I always try to sort of focus on my character's personality first, because if I focus on costume first, trust me, I will spend way too much money. I spend way too much time on holy clothing and LARPing and Darkblade LARP and all these other sort of LARP, Chow's Emporium, all these sort of LARP shops I can't afford, just perusing things going, oh, I could buy that, Oh, that's so pretty. I can't afford any of it. So I like to build my characters first so that at least I know what I'm going to buy and why. And I'm sad because I draw up on spreadsheets as well, so I can see how much money I'm actually spending. Do I play instruments in real life? Oh, I wish I did. No. Sounds really sad. So I can play some songs on the ocarina, including the Star Wars theme tune, because again, I am a stupid obsessive. I can sing okay. I had professional singing lessons in school, and I can still hold that a bit. I wouldn't put me on some form of contestant show, because that would be embarrassing. But no, I can't play instruments really. I should learn. I have instruments that I've meant to learn, but I don't, because I'm a bit sad and pathetic. You spent way too much during lockdown on LARP kit. I think everyone I know has spent too much money on LARP kit over lockdown. I have bought way too many things. I bought this literally the other weekend at LARPCon for no other reason than I wanted it. And I don't know if I'm actually even going to use it. Lockdown has actually been rather unhealthy for LARPers, in my opinion, because we spent way too much time earning money that we weren't spending, and a lot of time looking at stuff on the internet, which meant we end up buying loads of crap we don't need. Lockdown, I think, has been rather unhealthy for all of our bank accounts. I'm going to go back to my questions now. What is your favorite LARP memory? Oh, okay, so there's only one memory I ever think. I have so many wonderful memories of LARP, and every year more ones get added. But if anyone ever asks me, there's only one memory actually comes up. I had just become a guild master for the Rangers Guild. We were called the Archers Guild at the time, and I got invited to a diplomats meeting because one of the factions had created a document essentially restricting some of the rights of the guilds. And so the guilds decided to show up. And knowing myself, sorry, I've got a bit of a runny nose, that's awful. And knowing myself, I knew that I was going to say something that I was going to make everything so much worse. So I purposely went and got a large pizza and a pint of cider so that I could eat and drink throughout the meeting and not say anything. And so I took these and went down to the meeting place, and it took me about 30 seconds, I would say, to realize that we had not been invited to this meeting. and the guilds were essentially gate crashing. I was under the impression that we had been invited to discuss this appropriately, and as adults. And what we actually were doing was we were invading a private meeting. Needless to say, things didn't go very well. People insisted on the document being read out, and people were shouting at each other. It got quite loud, so people were storming. Like, the Bard Guild brought a table with them purposely for the sake of flipping it, which they did, and it was a beautiful flip, and it was great. I remember one of the alchemist masters, Nick, was standing behind me. He was very cross. And I remember it distinctly that it was about 2/3 of the way through. My pizza and my cider ran out, and I started talking and then did not get better. People started yelling at each other. It was all crazy. I yelled at some people as well. And all in all, I just remember it very distinctly ending when the ambassador from the Tarantulas, a beautiful woman, elf ears, long flowing black gown, very serious, she just stood up and went, "I don't even know why I'm here, it's a stupid piece of paper," and just left. And then everyone else kind of got up and left as well. And it was kind of an anticlimactic ending, but I'll never forget it, just simply because it was by far some of the most dramatic, high-tension roleplay I've ever had. And it didn't even involve any fighting, which is my great love when it comes to LARP. So that, I would say, is probably my best LARP memory, if anything, just because it will stay with me forever, on how intense it was, how many people were involved, and just the sheer amount of dramatic roleplay that came from the people who were around me. And I know I'll still be saying that years from now as to what's my best sort of LARP memory. And because that's the really good thing about LARP, is that it doesn't matter how often you go, eventually you're going to hit something where this great amount of roleplay and energy is just going to hit you in one significant moment. And that moment will be the one you tell your friends about, and you talk about for years after these events, and they stay with you forever. And it's quite it sounds so sort of, it's quite a magical thing. If you want to get really sort of, soppy about it. I'm both overdramatic and emotionless. It's quite impressive. I think I'm running out of questions now. See, some of these sort of questions now are starting to get on to things about me. And trust me, you don't want to hear about me. You don't want to hear about sort of TV shows I watch and music I listen to. Let's talk LARP. LARP's more interesting. Have you guys still got any other questions? I like to answer questions. I'm going to take a drink while I hope the chat updates. Please forgive my runny nose. I have a cold and it's highly embarrassing. Trying to think now. What other sort of things am I going to be doing videos on soon? So I've got my Wild Hunt series. That's going to be probably about 3 to 4 episodes. I've got one about prepping for 2022 because I did one for 2021. What else? I don't remember. I have a list. I actually planned these out, believe it or not. I know it kind of looks like I don't because they're very mishmash and have poor advice. But I do actually plan these and I script them too. It's quite impressive. Do I have any TV shows that inspire me for LARP? Oh, so many. So many TV shows. TV shows, films, all it. Oh, God. Okay, so my current character, Briar, head of the Rangers Guild. So just to give you an idea of kind of things that inspire me, because it does have a wide variety. Briar started as what I can only describe as an amalgamation of Disney princesses. I then threw her into Adrea, where she became incredibly cynical and jaded and excessively violent, which I think says everything about how Adrea is and how it affects you mentally and in your soul. And I kind of took for her, I took inspiration from all sorts of different things. I mean, she likes to read like Belle, she does archery like Merida, and most importantly, because I'm a sad person, and it came out just before I started playing her. She's an ice elemental with ice powers, because I am a massive Frozen nerd, which I'll be honest with you, I'm not even ashamed of. Look at it, there's a reason there's snowflakes everywhere. I'm obsessed with snow. I have been for years. It's a very weird aesthetic to have, but you know, whatever. And that's kind of the inspiration I sort of had for her. And then as I go on, I kind of look at other kind of things. Disney is a big inspiration for me, and I don't know why. Maybe I've just, consumerism. Things that are inspiring me right now. The Witcher is a big one. I know I've mentioned it several times. But I've played The Witcher 3. I've read some of the books. I'm enjoying the Netflix series quite excessively. And not just because Henry Cavill is gorgeous. What else is at the moment? I've been watching a lot of Bridgerton, which is my guilty pleasure at the moment, because that was an amazing series. If anything, just for the soundtrack, because if you haven't watched it, they play a lot of classical music versions of pop songs. So it was quite interesting. So we're watching a scene, and suddenly I'm just hearing the violins in the background going, "Is this Taylor Swift? Is this Taylor Swift? Was that Ariana Grande?" So yeah, that's been a big inspiration for me at the moment. I'm trying to find a Regency LARP to go to. Fantasy-wise, I take a lot from films, really. I'm not going to say Lord of the Rings, because while I absolutely love Lord of the Rings, have been a massive fan for quite a while. When I was 14, my parents took me to New Zealand. Not because of Lord of the Rings, but because my mum is a massive lover of New Zealand. She's been 5 times now. And I got to go to lots of the sort of places where they filmed Lord of the Rings. We went to the place where they filmed like most of the Mordor scenes, and we went to Hobbiton, and lots of like some of the rivers where they filmed stuff. It was brilliant, and not because my parents are Lord of the Rings fans too, because they're not. They just are kind enough to actually indulge me in my sort of things. I'm trying to think of what the fantasy stuff I'm really into. I like The Princess Bride. What have I been watching lately? You know, it's like when your brain just draws a blank. I'll come back to that. But I know I've been watching stuff. Game of Thrones. Should have mentioned Game of Thrones. And that's controversial because people have different opinions on Game of Thrones. I love Game of Thrones. I have a massive collector's edition box set that my husband got me for my 30th birthday. And yeah, that's really, really cool. Oh, hi. Nice to see you. Yay. Yeah, I love Game of Thrones. Sansa Stark is my goddess. I absolutely love her forever. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of what else. King Arthur's a big one. Pretty much most King Arthur stories. I have a lot of books about that. So much media. What else am I going to do? I'm going to move on just because I can't think of anything else at the moment, but I will come back to more TV shows that inspire me about LARP because I know that there are more. Tips for not getting dead for newbies? Very simple. Don't piss people off. Don't do stupid things. Thank you for congrats me on the 1,001K. Literally is because of all of you lot. Because if you guys didn't subscribe, I wouldn't have 1,000 subscribers. So, thank you to you. Let's see, what was I saying? Tips for don't get dead for newbies. Don't piss people off. Don't do things stupid. Do get involved, because if you don't get involved, you kind of just will end up being treated like cannon fodder by some people. Not nice people. Nice people will never treat you like cannon fodder. But get involved, don't do stupid things. And That's probably not the best one. I'll write a bell. I'll write this whole. I need to do a video on how to not get dead for newbies because that's a bit. Well, that's all terrible advice. It's easy when I write stuff out. Do I make my own weapons or do I buy them? I buy them because I'm terrible at crafts. I have tried making a weapon before, and I say making. It wasn't even making one. I did a repaint of a weapon I already owned, and the repaint looked beautiful, but in drying out, it melted the glue holding the foam together, so it didn't pass safety. So I am really quite pathetic. So I buy stuff. I buy from sort of like, I know Epic Armory's obviously disappeared, which has royally upset me because I loved Epic Armory and the stuff. So I'm looking at a lot of sort of smaller crafters at the moment, especially ones in the UK. So I have some daggers by a company called Light Armories. And they make absolutely beautiful things. These bits behind me are from a shop called Irregular Props. And the gentleman who makes those is incredibly talented. He has a beautiful line of stuff that's all made from gemstones. And he's doing some more stuff on mushrooms, which is making some of my friends very happy because they're insane. And I just think his stuff is absolutely beautiful because look at it. I mean, the color and the shaping, it looks like ice. It's weighted nicely as well, which is what you want. I'm not going to get that down because that's huge and terrifying. But I really love something like that at the moment. I'm trying to think of where else. Having a LARP, I like. I buy bows from them because they're cheap but well made. Yeah, those are the people I currently sort of am getting weapons from. But I'm pretty much willing to try most crafters, to be honest. I'm actually currently looking at an axe from another place called Twisted Goblin Armories. I have their card on my board over there, and they're absolutely fantastic. I know the guys who own them. They are really sweet, really good. I buy stuff because I'm just not a crafty person. I wish I was. If I could make stuff, I would, because I believe that's a good way to save money. Let's see. How would I feel about a LARP event that created a bunch of snow with snow machines for set dressing? So the events I went to in August with the Loyal Trust had these pillars based around the seasons, and I got a little too obsessed with the winter one. And so I was like, we're going to go and see it. And I dragged like several members of my guild down there. And I think they all got very annoyed because I'd bend them to my will. And when I got there, one of the refs turned on a snow machine that was inside it. And apparently I made a noise that made someone's glass crack. With just this high-pitched squeal of ecstatic. Snow machines are a yes. Yes, any LARP with snow. I probably would go to LARP just for snow machines because I am that pathetic. Organize a Beakerleen trip with a bunch of people. Oh, I so want to go to Beakerleen. I so want to go to Beakerleen. First I heard of Beakerleen. The first I heard of Beakerleen was I was pregnant. I was at home because of morning sickness. I turned on YouTube and saw Momo O'Brien's video on Beakerleen, and it was the best thing I have ever seen. I've never, ever heard of this place before with these big buildings and all these people and these massive battles. I mean, I go to fest systems with massive battles, but they don't have permanent sites. And it was absolutely incredible. And I would love to go. I absolutely would love it so much. Still not sure if I would go because I still don't know how they're doing with there's a whole sort of thing with blackface at the moment there, and I don't know how they're dealing with that, if it has been dealt with or if it's still going on. But for me, that's a big no-no. So I'm hoping everything's cool with Beakerleen, and I am desperate to go. The costumes from Game of Thrones are so beautiful. I have the book written by the lady who did it. She wrote a massive book showing how she did all the costumes. I own it. It weighs a ton, but it is the best costume guide I've ever had. A lot of the tips I have for costume doing are from that book, especially the stuff about detail, because it is, yeah. I know her name's Michelle. I can't remember her last name, but she is the most amazing person ever. She did like costumes for like the Crown as well, and I have no words. Costumes on Game of Thrones are the best things I've ever seen. What is the best material or fabric for a workhorse durable cloak for outerwear? Wool. Wool is a magical fabric. So the reason why wool is great is because obviously everyone knows about wool keeping you warm because it's great insulator. But the thing is that's great about wool as well is that if you are too hot and you're sweating, the fabric literally will help whip water away from your body. So it can actually help you keep you cool as well. It is incredibly durable. And it is kind of waterproof as well, because if I'm right, and I could be wrong, don't quote me on this because my brain is all over the place at the moment. The fibers swell when they get wet, which actually makes it watertight. So if you're under a wool cloak, it actually helps keep the water out, especially if it's raining. I wouldn't recommend standing out in the rain in a wool cloak forever, but it's certainly better than most man-made fabrics like polyester. So if you're looking for something that's durable for outerwear, that's going to keep you warm, can help keep you cool, and help keep you dry, yeah, wool. I would always recommend wool. Germany. Hello. Hi, Lara. This is so exciting. You're almost all of you from like different countries, and this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and I'm so excited. Just going back, wool is an amazing fabric. Let's have a look. So many questions now, they're all kind of coming through, and I'm getting more and more bouncy. Follow-up on question, how not to get dead. How do you piss people off in a good way? Oh, it's so hard to piss people off in a good way, but if you do it, it's amazing. The trick is to piss people off in a good way is probably to be useful. So if you're a thief and you're annoying people because you're pretty good at nicking people's stuff, if you nick stuff that they need, and I'm not saying like nick stuff from like your enemies or whatever, but no, if they're trying to get to like sacred relic of blah blah blah, and you're able to just sort of slip in there and get it out again, then they often will forgive your flaws. How to not piss people off is a lot easier. But I'll go into that, and I think I'll go into that in a video on how to not piss off LARPers, because LARPers are really easy to piss off. And to be honest, it's not even anyone's fault. I've said this before, LARP events are quite emotionally charged, because you're often in either a life or death situation, or you've got, there is a sense of urgency. There's very few LARPs where nothing is happening, and therefore, you can just sort of chill along. There's always something, and there's always either political sort of intrigue or there's physical violence. So there's a lot of sort of emotional charge, and that means people get pissed off so easily about little things. So how to piss people off how to piss people off in a good way? Be useful. Be useful is probably the best way to do. Your group handcrafts all your weapons, and you're also talented. Oh, you're so talented. I have the talent of a child who can't draw stick drawings. I'm so not talented in any way, shape, or form. And I always admire people. I went to LARPCon a couple of weekends ago, and it was just a kit fair. So it's just like people selling, props and stuff. Sometimes they have like a big LARPCon in the UK. They have, I say big, it's not massive, but it is bigger than what I went to. They have like guests and stuff. I know they have like next year they've got a guest. The guest coming is someone who designed like the original. Those books you can get where they have like multiple endings and you can kind of like choose your own adventure. I think the guy they've got coming is the guy who invented those. And and I know he did some other stuff as well. I think he was like, he might own part of Games Workshop. I don't know. I don't do, I don't do, war games like that and stuff. But yeah, all my friends got very excited. So, but he's going next year. And the shops are all going to be there. So it's all the props and all these sort of, small traders who are incredibly talented. And I just like to go and see all of their stuff and buy all their things. I do like to support smaller businesses if I can, for two reasons. And one, because supporting small businesses is a good and noble act. And the second, small businesses, in my opinion, are much better at producing better quality products for slightly less ridiculous prices. Sometimes I feel like when you get mass-produced stuff, it kind of, the price isn't always quite worth what you're buying. When it's handcrafted, 99% of the time, it's very worth it. Even if it is slightly more expensive, I just feel like the value for money is better. So I will always support small crafters, if anything, just because I like the quality of the products. And yeah, it's individual sort of, smaller companies you always want to make sure that they're going to survive, because otherwise that sucks. See, I'm doing that umming and ahhing thing and I'm kind of losing track. But yeah, support small individuals, support small businesses, because they are pretty much the backbone of LARP. It's very sorry, my phone is vibrating. It is my alarm. I'm terribly sorry about that. Wasn't expecting that to happen. So let's keep going. Very interested in knowing where I got my LARP bows. So I get them from a company called Having a LARP, who are the people who run LARPCon, actually. And they do these bows. They do these bows that are relatively cheap. They're fiberglass, but they're covered in sort of like faux leather. And they look great, but they are not that expensive. I think when I got my last one, I want to say it was between 65 and 75 quid, which for a LARP bow is reasonable. And I just like I like that they're not too expensive, but they're still as good as all these big fancy LARP, but the sort of LARP bows that my friends have. And also the poundage is much lighter, because I am really weak in the arms. And one of my friends, David, he's got this bow and it looks like it's made out of bone and it's beautiful. I can't pull it because I'm so weak. So having these light bows that I can pull but still be as good as my friend's expensive bows is a big plus. So yeah, having a LARP if you want to buy a bow. They are a UK-based company, so import to your own country at your own risk. Let's see, what else? You remember when Hamleys used to have one in the staircases? What do you mean, snow machines? Snow machines are everywhere, especially at Christmas. I was in London a few years ago, and there was a snow machine on top of several of the shops in Oxford Street. And they went off, and loads of people in the street freaked out because they thought it was snowing. They're like, oh, it's snowing. And then literally it was just foam. But there's a magical thing about snow machines. So yeah, I'm obsessed. Yep, wool cloak is very, very good. All from California. Hello. Glad you enjoy the videos. How much are my LARP characters different from my true self? I had a really hard time at my first little con being someone else and not to be shy. Oh, yeah, I get that. I think the thing is with LARP characters is that it's really hard to get away from yourself 100%. Some people do, and when I see people who are completely different from their LARP characters in real life, I'm always so impressed, because I don't have that level of acting skill. Every single one of my characters is me on some level, and I find it's often my more negative traits, because I can be a bitch in a bad mood. I really wish I wasn't. I really do, I promise. So how much are they different from my true self? I try to keep one aspect of myself. I say try to. I always keep an aspect of myself, because it's very hard for me to sort of differentiate away, especially when emotions kind of run high. I am trying to differentiate myself more. Briar, my LT character, is probably a lot like me, but a lot braver, because I would never get into the fight she gets into. Garnet, who is my character that I'm going to play for the Wild Hunt, my little Red Riding Hood character. I think she's probably going to be a bit more serious than I am. I really like to laugh. It's how I cope with most things. I have a rather strong sense of self-deprecating humor, and I really like making people laugh. And for her, I've sort of realised that she's probably going to have gone through quite a lot of crap, and probably won't have the same sense of humour I would have, because she would have grown up during a famine, and her parents would have died during a war, and she's immortal, spoiler, because of the Wild Hunt. So she would have probably gone through the French Revolution, which is obviously a emotional turmoil for obviously people in that country at that time. So she's going to be a lot more serious than I am, but I'm hoping she's still sort of as caring as I am, or as caring as I think I am. So I try to explore differences with all my LARP characters, but I kind of have to accept that on some level I'm always going to be a part of that character. As to being shy when you get to your first LARP event is almost a guarantee. I'm impressed by anyone and everyone who is not shy and quiet at their first LARP event, and I've met some people who just get into their first LARP event and thrive. My friend Malcolm, who I have mentioned many times on this channel for his ridiculous tents, is by far one of the most impressive human beings I've ever met, because he just oozes charisma from every orifice, and was able to walk into an event and immediately go, "Look at me, I'm amazing." And everyone went, "Yes, yes, you are amazing." And I have never been able to do that. Never. So in terms of the shyness, it does actually go away as you get more comfortable, and as you get to know people, and as you sort of feel like you're settling into the character and who that character is. The shyness does kind of dissipate, especially as you kind of get into this mindset of your character is not you, so you can get away with stuff as your character that you probably couldn't get away with in real life. So if you say a rude comment to somebody by accident, because I never would advocate being rude to people on purpose, which some people do, but I'm just, a wimp and hate upsetting people. But if you do say sort of a rude comment, you can sort of turn around and go, okay, well, why did I do that as my character? What is that? And you find yourself sort of being pushed out there a bit more. Be nice to people, but you'll be surprised how quickly the shyness kind of goes away. I could talk about this bit for ages. What's the most interesting to me in LARP? Role-playing, fighting, or storytelling? Oh. Can I say all three? No, that's cheeky. So the reason why it's a bit hard to pick between the three. So I have a weird reputation at my current LARP. A lot of people are under the impression I'm some form of warmonger, because I'm quite keen on starting a war, which I do understand as the definition of a warmonger. But I have really good reasons, and one of them is because I really want to get into a big fight. You know what? It is almost impossible to say whether it's the most interesting part of me, the role play, the fighting, or the storytelling. If I had to pick one that is probably least interesting to me, I would probably actually say storytelling, but not because I don't enjoy the stories of LARP. I just really hate writing stories for LARP. I am not, like I said, I'm not a creative human being. I wish I was. I really do. I wish I could write and say and sing songs and come out with these sort of beautiful pieces of artwork. And that's just not me. I'm just not a creative human being. So writing stories for others at LARP, I really struggle with. Being part of a story to help someone else tell a story, I am 100% on board. I love being a part of a tale and sort of being able to recount that to other people. And roleplay and fighting are still parts of that. For example, a few years ago, we went to one of my games. We went to war, albeit not with other players, because my dreams of being a warmonger will never come true. But we went off against war, against this other sort of, bad guy monster nation, and that story was overarched a few years, and we went out and we had to collect objects and do negotiations and do spying on the enemy and finding out more about his forces, and then we had to craft weapons, and it was this massive sort of role play leading up to what was essentially one of the greatest battles I've ever been a part of. There were crazy monsters. It was from Cathay, so it was kind of based on a fictionalized China, and there were these terracotta warrior kind of monsters, which I created a weapon that could kill them in one shot, which nobody else thought of. And that was my epic sort of fight in there. And then he had great big fire-breathing dragons we had to fight. And that battle was chaotic, but it was dramatic. And I will always remember my friend Marcus shooting it all down with 1 billion arrows that we kept having to supply him. And I always remember shooting all of those terracotta warriors and watching them having to, get shattered on the mountainside before they even got to us. I say mountainside, it was a hill. We're in a field. It's not Colorado. Damn, I wish it was Colorado. I'm so gutted. And sort of that part of and it's just it all kind of comes together and makes this story. And I will remember that story for years, and I'll remember that battle, and I'll remember the role play. And it's kind of hard for me to say which is the most interesting, because I need all of them to have good LARP events. If you're going to ask me about what my favorite aspect is, which is obviously not interesting, what is my favorite bit? It's always going to be fighting, though, because I like weapons, I like hitting things, I have a lot of anger I need to get out. So yeah. Yes, James, I want to start a war. I really want to start a war. I've been trying. I nearly got there at one event recently, and I got this close, and then people got talked out of it. Modern words, okay. Modern words. Are you talking about just how I'm talking now, or are we sort of referring to saying forsooth and thou art going to thy tavern? Because because no one I know speaks that way at the LARP events I go to, because it's exhausting. And there's nothing wrong with people with LARP events where they do want you to do that. It's a very Shakespearean way of talking, and it does add to that sort of drama. If you're into sort of Shakespearean kind of plays and role play, that definitely adds to it, because it does kind of make you, for some reason, go like this as you speak. But if you're referring to just sort of like talking the way I'm talking, then yes, at the events I go to, people talk normally. Unless they're playing something really dramatic. I know one person who's playing like a version of Shakespeare at my LARP, and I don't know if he speaks actually in sort of thine and thous. But if he did, it wouldn't surprise me, because it would fit his character brilliantly. If you mean as in modern terminology, like, saying you're going to the toilet or you need to answer your phone or something, it kind of depends on the LARP. I mean, basic sort of, etiquette of LARP is you try not to break immersion as much as you can. So if you're talking about things that aren't in place for LARP, like phones or, you know, the internet or whatever, it's kind of respectful just to kind of dress it up a little bit or take that to one side. But I don't think you really have to sort of go overboard with the whole thing, if you know what I mean. Most people I know at LARPs talk normally, and obviously that's just as well as fantasy LARPs. I mean, the sci-fi LARPs and stuff like that, it's almost weird for people to not talk normally. So yeah, yeetifiable. People do that, yeah. I can't eat fireballs, to be honest, though, because I like snow. And I wish that wasn't so cliche, but that's really true. Oh dear. I'm not sure what's happening in the chat. You're gonna... Oh dear God, really? Right. Oh dear. Yeah. That's not appropriate. That's not appropriate. This is not the place to do it. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. It didn't have to be done. It's not appropriate. It's not funny, and I don't like it. Don't do that on my channel. There's a lot I won't tolerate, and that's a big one. Moving on, because I'm not letting that spoil things. So, I don't know. I don't know what to talk about now. That has completely thrown me. That's very rude. I don't like that. Back onto LARP. So, what else is going on? Sort of LARP-wise. I'm not at LARPCon next year because the Wild Hunt LARP I'm going to is at the same time, so that's made me very upset, but never mind. They'll probably hold a kit fair later in the year, and I'll probably do some filming about that. I'm trying to think of things. There's one thing you lot can kind of do for me, which is I like to do videos that are actually going to help people. Because, you know, I want more people to enjoy LARP. I want more people to get into LARP, because LARP is, in my personal opinion, the best hobby in the world. So I want to get more people into LARP. So therefore I want to answer questions that you guys have about LARP. So one thing you guys can actually do for me, if that's okay, is if you have any ideas for things you guys want to know about LARP, if you can let me know in a comment of my videos or something like that, then I can put it on my list of things to do as a video. Because I want to answer your questions about LARP. I want to be able to help you get the most out of LARP. So therefore, please feel free at any time to just tell me, you know, hey Jess, we want to know a bit more about this. We want to know about how you do this for a character. I am more than happy to be that person and do exactly what you need. So let me know if there is anything that is actually on your mind. Plans for an Orion Sphere character. So Orion Sphere is a sci-fi LARP in the UK with a very fixed, from what I understand, sort of very fixed sort of fixed idea of what alien species are in that universe. Now I know you can add more, but I don't want to add things to stuff that I've only played once. So in terms of a character that I want to play, I kind of want to play probably not necessarily a smuggler pilot, but maybe just almost like it sounds really dumb, almost like a space trucker. So essentially I have a spaceship, I move cargo around, and generally accidentally sort of stumble into, you know, saving the galaxy or whatever. I feel like that would be fun. Not so much Han Solo, because I'm nowhere near that cool. But, you know, space trucker. I definitely want to play a space trucker at some point. You know, character creation. So I love character creation. I've got so much I could probably say about character creation. I don't do character creation videos enough, really, which is why I'm looking forward to this one for Garnet, because it is long and it is in detail and it is going to be brilliant. I probably should do some more character creation ones, really, especially costume hauls. I like doing sort of costume hauls and building up, what costumes actually look like. Even though I said previously that I like building the character first, you're going to find out this really easily. I'm a hypocritical person. I absolutely will do whatever I want in any order I want, despite the things I say in previous videos. So yeah, I can definitely do more videos on character creation. How to build good in-game relationships, both enemies and allies. Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. I could do a video on that, to be honest, because but that's got a lot of that's really sort of rather psychological stuff, which makes it sound far more scientific than it is. But basically, it's kind of hard to build enemies into a game if it's not a short-term game. If you've got like a game that's like one night, then you can probably pre-plan who your enemies and your friends are going to be and how to build that relationship. When it's a long-term campaign-style game, you'll find that a lot of sort of the allies and enemies things kind of happen organically, especially when there's a large number of people around, because you find yourself butting heads with people and making friends with people that you wouldn't expect to under any of the circumstances, and it's not planned in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I've got friends in my games who, if I planned it, I probably wouldn't have been friends with them. If anything, just because one of my closest and dearest friends at the Law and Trust is a well-known serial killer, who, if I was sensible, I would have avoided. But it's too late now, and he's technically now my adoptive cousin. So, things get a bit weird. Well, that's absolutely fine, Laura. It's been absolutely lovely chatting with you for a bit. Good night, because it's pitch black here. How long are the events that I attend? The events I attend, I usually go for weekend-long ones. But we kind of semi-cheat in the UK because a lot of them are run on bank holidays, which essentially means you get Monday off work as well. So they run from like Friday to Monday. So it's kind of like 3-ish to 4-day-ish events. Hello. More people around. Where are you from? Add it in the chat because I like to know where I'm talking to in the globe. Yeah, so most of the events I go to are sort of like weekend long, Friday to Sunday, Friday to Monday kind of things, because then you get a good sort of block of days where you're in character and you kind of live out this story over the course of days. I do go to one-night events as well. The Wild Hunt one I'm going to is a one-night event. There's a couple of others I know that are one-night events that I wanted to go to. Most one-night event one I find involves some form of dinner and some form of dramatic political sort of intrigue. No, you've not missed most of all of it. We're still going. I plan to be here for up to 40 minutes to another hour. So you're absolutely fine, Debbie Larps. Don't worry. Arizona. Oh, so many people in the US. I keep looking at my demographics, and there's so many Americans watching my videos, and it's like that means so much because I'm obsessed with US television. Whole of the guilty pleasure. So hi, Stephanie. Nice to have you here as well. Yay. Let's see what I'm going to do. Yeah, I go to weekend-long events. I go to single-night events. I've never done a week-long one. Like Beaconline, like we were talking earlier, because there aren't really that many in the UK. I really want to go to a week-long one, though. I think I could manage 5 to 7 days as a single character. I think. At your first LARP, pretend like your character's best friend was the vampire everyone was looking for. Oh my god, that sounds like the most amazing roleplay. That must have been amazing. Just like I think they're the vampire. No. They look like a vampire. No. They have fangs. They're dripping blood. I'm still gonna say no. Sounds like the most amazing thing. I would love that. Absolutely love that. Oh, Debbie, we'll come back to you in a second. Hang on, because we'll have a chat. Do I cooking character too? I have previously, because I don't entirely have a choice. I don't currently because I cheat a little bit because if I'm going to like one night events, they're usually catered for me. And at the Lorien Trust, because I run a guild and I'm a volunteer, so the game feeds me. So there's like this backstage canteen with like food and soup, and so I haven't actually cooked in game for a while, and that's really kind of annoying me a bit, to be honest, because I actually that's a video I've got planned. Hi Kai. That's a bunch of videos I've actually got planned because I want to talk a lot about immersive food because I'm a glutton. And I have a large collection of fantasy cookbooks because I'm an obsessive. And I want to talk about food and how you can use food to enhance your roleplay. But I also want to show some of the recipes that I've got that you can use at LARPs because they're really cool. So I can and do cooking character. Not recently. I plan to do more. I've got a video series planned for next year to tell you all about it because it's so amazing. Oh, now you're all having a chat between yourselves. I love it. Right, Debbie, so you're a new LT player and you live near the site. I live near the site. Like within 10 miles or so of the site. We should talk. We should talk. We should meet in real life. That would terrify me. Meeting people who watch my videos in the real world. That's where I did that. I did that at the gathering for the Lorien Trust. I was in the middle of role playing, was asked to go and help someone else with role playing, and then they turned to me and went, "I watch your videos online," and I was like, "Oh dear God, no!" That was amazing and horrifying. But Debbie, we should talk because I also live near the site. So yes, let me talk. Are my characters given to me prior to the event, or do you get a role and you develop it? Depends on the game. It depends on the game. Most games I go to, you kind of create your own character and you can make most decisions about them. Sometimes, like if it's a mechanics heavy game, you kind of, get given a set of rules and go, right, you can build your character from this. And then you can, here are some races you can play depending on the setting. And then you can sort of usually construct your own backstory from that. Some LARPs like to give you scripted characters, and they're not like necessarily like roles in a play. There's some LARPs do that, but they'll talk to you about what kind of character that you want to be, what kind of things you want, and then they will build a character brief for you that you can kind of alter, as you go, and to make it sort of fit you. And that's absolutely fine as well. It varies from game to game, and none are wrong and none are bad. They are all. It's just a different style of play, and they're all really, really fun. The 5-day Heartland Games. I never played the Heartland Games, Kai, because I'm too young. I say that when I'm trying to go over to your house at some point in the next week, so be nice to me. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. I want to see your dogs. LARP food videos. Yes, so many LARP food videos. We need to get more LARP appropriate recipes out there. I have so many cookbooks. I've got like World of Warcraft cookbooks. I've got Game of Thrones cookbooks. I've got, yeah, Debbie, we need to have a chat. Message me on Twitter. Yes, so yeah, I have Game of Thrones cookbooks. I have World of Warcraft cookbooks. I have Star Wars cookbooks. I've got Disney cookbooks. And there are so many interesting ones with so many interesting recipes that you could use for LARP and are really, really cool. So I want to use them. I have the D&D cookbook. It's all a bit insane. So Yeah, I know, Kai. I'm 31. What did you expect? So yeah, I want to do some videos about LARP cooking, so that'd be really, really fun. Have I played many NPCs, and what's the most exciting NPC I've played? Okay, so NPCs in my games are often called monsters, because NPCs are kind of a different thing. NPCs are kind of like staff members who facilitate roleplay rather than things you kill. What's the most interesting one to play? Oh, so it wasn't like a big sort of overarching bad guy. But I did play a bunch of wizard hunters. I say played a bunch of them like I played them all. I was playing in a group of wizard hunters. And we were given a brief to essentially go out, find as many of these wizards as we could, and try and kill them in broad daylight. And there were loads of different subgroups of wizard hunters. We're all hunting different kinds of wizards because, you know, why not? And we all had different powers, and most of them had like loads of defensive powers and loads of things to do this. And my group were only given offensive spells that could do damage, including a thing called a mage bolt, which is one of the biggest spells in the game that can cause a ton of damage. And we all had 5 of them. And we decided that if we spotted one of these lizards, we were just going to blast him with a ton of magic and put him right on the floor, which we did the second we got into the game because we found one immediately. And it was outside the guild area, which is where obviously a lot of trading happens and all the guilds meet. So there's a lot of people generally in there, especially in the middle of the day. And we blasted him right outside there with a ton of magic, and the guilds emptied and came running at us. There were 7 of us. And they all came at us. Wizard hunter. James, I did say wizard hunter. We were hunting wizards. And yeah, the guilds emptied, and they all came out with all their swords and their big thing. And there was probably about 70 of them, and there's 7 of us. And they just completely pummeled us into the ground. And we were told to go off and respawn somewhere else. And we kind of just did that around the field. We went to different camps, and we confused so many people, because some people, if they weren't the wizard we were looking for, we went over and we used magic to heal them. Which stopped people killing us because they were very confused. And it was just a really silly but really dramatic piece of roleplay, because I liked all the reactions people were having. The fact that one sort of lot of people freaked out because we were really powerful, and then another lot got really confused because we were also helping. I like to emotionally complicate all my, play. I like to see players go, a lot. That's my thing. So that was definitely probably the most exciting NPC role I've played in quite a while. Another sort of exciting one, I'm hoping to play a god at some point. I'm trying to talk a plot team into letting me be their god to antagonize their players, and fingers crossed. So that'll be fun. Right, so let's see. Yes, I did say wizards. Volunteer to be both NPCs and monsters. Yeah, we do too. Depending on LARP, I know of Empire LARP, which is a big one in the UK. You'll hear a lot of British LARPers go on about it. They have like a set of NPC team, which is just people who play orcs, and go to Orcs Planet on YouTube. They are literally players in that orc team. They are amazing. They talk so much about playing orcs at Empire. It's really, really good. 2-person question. Any thoughts on playing characters' sexual orientation is different to your own? Okay. So just a full disclaimer on my one. I am straight. I have obviously no issues with anyone of any other sexuality. But that's my own one. I think when it comes to anything that is essentially of protected characteristics, because that is sort of in the UK, and that comes to, so that includes sexual orientation, disability, all of that. and obviously race being an exception to this, because I don't think it is really appropriate to, in any way, shape or form, to role play people of different races to yourself, because that's a whole kettle of fish that I don't think anyone needs in their life. When it comes to sort of, you know, sexuality and gender and that sort of thing, the best thing is always to just kind of be respectful and do your research. Because if you just go in there with a load of stereotypes, all you're going to do is offend people. And there's absolutely no reason to be doing that in any aspect of your life. And that includes LARP. Because there are people in this world who believe that because they're role playing, they can get away with stuff. And trust me, that's not okay. That's not, no. But that doesn't mean you can't explore other sort of sexuality. I've got a friend who, he's gay. He played a character who was notoriously bisexual. I have another friend who is non-binary. They are they them, but they decided their character was going to be a woman. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're being respectful. Okay, bye, Marlon. It was really, really nice having a chat with you. Hope you have a good night. Thank you so much for coming. This has been really epic. Yeah, if you're playing characters that are different to you in sort of those kind of protected characteristic way, be respectful, because it is really easy to get it wrong and offend others, and that's not what you want to do. That's not what anyone wants to do. I have seen people who play disabilities like at LARP in a very disrespectful and insulting way, and that went down like a lead balloon, and no one was impressed with that person. But yeah, doing the research, go on YouTube, look at serious videos, not people doing stereotypes and that, but look and sort of, do your reading, do your research, look at fantasy stories that, if you are playing if you decide you want to play an LGBT character, look at fantasy stories that have that representation and do it in a respectful, decent way. And that's probably the best way to sort of build that up. And the other sort of tip I would give on that is, if anyone tells you that you are being disrespectful, don't get offended don't get offended. Make sure you take what they say on board, because if you are upsetting somebody, as long as you realize that and work hard to correct it and do better, then you'll be fine. But you need to acknowledge that basically not everybody is, people are going to be offended by different things. So you just need to make sure you're doing your best. I'm not wording this very well. I kind of stuttered through that, and I'm very sorry, Bethany. If that didn't make sense, let me know and I will do better. There are not many people of your age around doing LARP. Do we have older LARPers in your adventures? Yes. Yes, absolutely, yes. I have a wonderful friend. He comes to LARP with his children and his parents. His parents are well known at the game. They are probably some of the oldest people at my game. I would definitely say that they are older than 56. I don't see age as being any problem. And I know a lot of people sort of picture it as a young person's thing because, you see a lot of sort of keen teenagers and sort of on YouTube and stuff. But no, I don't. It's just kind of sort of a misrepresentation in media, because there are so many people of different ages at different games. Sorry, I keep the comments. I'm not very good at not reading the comments while I'm talking, so I'm really not very good at this. Yeah, it's kind of a representation in media that LARP is a sort of young person's game, but we have to kind of remember that LARP itself, as the hobby it is now, came around in the 80s and the 90s, and the players who started that are still playing, and they're all epic. They are by far the smartest, most sensible generation that I see at LARP, with exceptions, because no generation is perfect, but they are literally all the people I look up to a LARP, or all people at least in their 40s, some in their 50s, some in their 60s. Age is not a barrier at LARP, and I think they are absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I don't think anyone should turn around and go, well, I'm not 25, I can't LARP. No, I'm over 45, I can't LARP. I mean, yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can, and you should, because it's so fun. I know people who come LARPing with their grandchildren. In one case, their great-grandchildren. It's so fun. It is a different way to try out different roles and labels, and yeah, we are in an age now, we've been in an age for a while where a lot of people are becoming more comfortable in accepting that they are not part of this sort of standard image that society presents itself. And a lot of LARPers sort of use that kind of environment to explore that, and it's not a bad place to do so, because you are essentially a fantasy fictional setting. And and that makes sure it's absolutely fine. And yeah, as long as you're not doing like pantomime dames, like Kai says, and turning gender into stereotypes and caricatures, it can be it is okay. I mean, we used to have this sort of thing. I say I've obviously never done this, but there's a casino at the game, and it used to have ladies' night, and there used to be these men coming down in, dresses, because it was ladies' night, and that's how they got into the bar. And it became rather awkward, because it went from being something slightly sort of funny to a rather kind of caricature of women, which I know a lot of people found really offensive and really uncomfortable, and essentially that was stopped, because there is a line where it goes from exploring gender to being offensive, and as long as you don't cross that, you're fine. I have no issues with anyone exploring gender at LARP, exploring sexuality at LARP. It's normal, because that's normal in society, and it's also normal amongst all of the sort of communities that LARPers hang around with. It's just about being respectful. Let's see, I can't see anymore. What's the major difference between historical impersonation and LARPing, in my opinion? Oh God, in my personal opinion, there's not too much difference between like historical impersonation and reenactment and LARPing. If there is a difference, I would say very simply, it's possibly how historical impersonators and reenactors view themselves as opposed to how LARPers view themselves. I personally believe that LARPers view themselves as creatives, whereas historical impersonation, we always put sort of historical reenactment, whereas I think historical reenactors kind of see themselves as scholars, because they're trying to recreate something that did exist in the modern day. And I did Viking reenactment for a very brief amount of time, and I was very impressed by how seriously they took it, and all the research they did into crafting and weapons and rebuilding sort of like this imagery, so that if someone looked at it and went, so this is what Vikings would look like. Whereas LARPers are trying to build a world where it might not be 100% historically accurate, but it is a creative fantasy in one way or another. So I think the very simple thing is that historical reenactors are scholars, while LARPers are creatives. And if I have offended anyone in the chat by saying so, please tell me, and I'm very sorry. But it's the only sort of way I can see to sort of distinguish between the two. Both awesome. So have I ever gone to Beakerleen? No, I have never been to Beakerleen, because I have never been to North America. Which is my greatest sin in life, because I'm desperate to go to North America. I was saying earlier, I want to go to Beakerleen. I want to go to Evermore in Utah. I want to go to Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser at Disney World, Florida. It is my biggest sort of thing. Okay, I'll come back to you in a second, Stephanie. So no, I have never been to Be Clean. I want to go to Be Clean. I said earlier that I'm still a bit. I'm still a bit sort of unsure on Be Clean because there was some issues with blackface and some racist sort of players there. I'll confess, as I have not been, I don't know too much about it. I obviously only know what I have read. What I do know is that I have yet to find anything telling me that has been addressed. It may have been addressed. I don't know. So until I'm sort of comfortable with that, because his sounds really dumb, is that, well, it's not even dumb. I'm a mum, and that's a big part of who I am, because, you know, it's just how I am. And I don't want to I don't want to put my son in a position where he thinks that kind of behavior is okay, because it's not, and that's not how I want to raise him. So I'm just very cautious when I hear stuff like that, and want to make sure that I'm making sure he has got the best example possible, and that includes at LARP. Yeah, LARPer kids. LARPer kids are awesome. They have grown up in LARP. They are now having their own children. Their parents still go. So it's multi-generational LARPers. It's great for people of all ages. So reenactment would be a recreation of a specific event, and impersonation is more of what history could have been. Okay, so thank you very much for that, Stephanie, because I did not know that. I still stand by what I said, though. I still think that the difference would probably be that essentially impersonation would be more scholarly, and not because there isn't a creative aspect to it, but because you are trying to essentially recreate history, which obviously is scholarly. I don't know, I'm really not very good at this, but I think that's probably so, is that if you're trying to recreate history, then you are looking for information, when as you're LARPing, you're probably trying to create something different. Yes, Debbie, absolutely, you're absolutely right. There is absolutely no excuse for racism at all, and I do refuse to even let someone suggest to my son that that is an acceptable way of living. So yeah, I'm sorry, I just keep bouncing back from different things, but yeah, so all in all, yeah, I lost track of it. I'm going to have a drink because I'm really warm. We've been at this for almost 2 hours now, so I'm actually very impressed. LARPing can be more fantasy. It's definitely more sort of what you imagine as opposed to what it was probably like. So in that aspect, it's probably more fantasy, yeah. Right, we are at, like I said, we are well in over an hour and a half. I am still buzzing, and I have a load of Diet Coke left to go through. So if you lot are on board, you're more than welcome to stay and continue asking me questions, because I'm okay with that. Have there any questions on this wonderful list that I made? If I could only do one LARP, what would it be? If I could only do one LARP, I mean, that's a really odd question, because it's like, is it only one LARP that, like, as in a LARP system, or one type of LARP? Because if there's only one type of LARP I could do, it would definitely be high fantasy. Because that's my jam. It's the most fun for me. I get the most out of it. I like the character designs generally more. And it sounds really dumb. I look best in the costumes. I look absolutely fantastic at it. Really wanted a sci-fi LARP. Yeah, Debbie, I do too. I really want to do sci-fi LARPs. Orion Sphere does look cool. I haven't been had a chance to get around to it. Like I said, it's family friendly, so it is tempting to take my son there. But so, yeah. Yeah, if I could only do one LARP. I feel that's kind of a disingenuous thing, because the main LARP I go to at the moment, like I've said it a billion times in the channel, I'm sorry I keep going on about it, is the Lorien Trust. And the thing is if I had to only pick one LARP, I would have to pick that one, because that's where most of my friends are. because my LARP friends from Law Interest, I think, are a massive aspect of my life now. I mean, I see them more than anyone. I see them more than anyone else. I'm close to so many of them. It's like that LARP has brought me a set of friends and family that I don't think I ever really sort of expected to have. I mean, you always expect to make friends, but some of these people that I've met are so close to my heart and so important to me, and I couldn't imagine a world where I don't know them anymore. So if I had to pick one LARP that I would go to, it would always be that one, but mainly for the people. Not because the LARP's bad, I like the LARP very much, but I would pick these people over any LARP game. Any game. Yeah. I'm running out of questions. I've heard Ironsphere is incredibly accessible, which is one of the reasons why I want to go. Right. I was going to say I could keep going, but the questions have disappeared. So what am I supposed to do? Very quick thing. Do you all like my new sort of filming space? I know you're kind of looking upwards now because the camera's tilted a fair bit. But I promised a new filming space ages ago, so I got like weapons and stuff in, and I got a portrait of me, which I say I got. I've owned that for quite a while. It was a wonderful gift from my friend Alex, who got it commissioned for me. I didn't know he had it commissioned. It's actually commissioned of a costume photo I have on Facebook. It's probably one of the coolest gifts I've ever been given. So that is now on display as part of my filming studio. Oh, it is cozy, to be honest. I've got like furs and, you know, my witch's hat and everything. I'm very comfortable with this. It makes me very happy. Yeah, so good. I have no idea who painted it. No idea at all who did it. Yeah. So if you see anything that you think I should add to this space, I'm definitely open because there's lots of sort of big grey gaps in places. So I'm more than happy to add stuff. If I could start an art system, what would be the setting? Star Wars. Star Wars. I would always do Star Wars over everything else. Because I love the concept of Jedi. I love the concept of the Force. I love this general sort of. I just love everything about Star Wars lore and everything, and I could go on about it forever. So anytime Star Wars. Have I ever done an escape room? No. I have run one. I have run an escape room because it was part of a sort of work thing where bonding sort of thing, and I wanted to do something interesting, and I know how escape rooms work, so I essentially built a ton of games, gave it a wizard tower setting, and I told them they had to escape the tower, and I brought into my work office, I brought a giant hourglass full of sand, which had time for about 15 minutes. And I set them a ton of tasks, including a puzzle, including riddles, finding keys that were in certain puzzle boxes. It was insane. So no, I've never actually done an escape room. I have run one though, and they are the best. There's one in Nottingham, which is the city I live in. At a place called Pyminster that I'm desperate to go to. So that'll be fun. So I am very on board for escape rooms. Have I ever had a moment where you just wanted to go back home before the game has ended? Yes. Many times. Many times. I've been at LARP and wanted to go home. And I've said before, it's an emotionally charged environment for a variety of reasons. It's political, your friends get on your nerves, you're desperate to try and get things done, but obviously if you're butting heads with other players, that can make things difficult. And sometimes it can just kind of get on top of you. And I'm not gonna lie, I've cried at LARP events. I've cried from the emotional stress. I've never actually gone home from one though. And I never really have regretted staying afterwards. And the reason why I've never sort of gone home is, one, if I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere, I don't have a choice. And two, I kind of try and make it the best of it. I don't think there's any judgment if you turn around and sort of go, I'm not having fun and I just want to go home. There's no judgment really. Several people that will go home if they're just not in the right frame of mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I always believe in, self-care is the best thing. And if you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed and emotionally stressed, the best thing to do is really just take a break. You are under no obligation to keep role playing if you're not up for it, under any circumstances. So if you feel like you are getting emotionally overwhelmed, you're tired, you're stressed, and you just want to go down and have a nap, then you should absolutely go and do so. Absolutely go and do so. And most of the time, if you take that break and come back in, you'll find that whatever was stressing you out enough to make you want to leave probably wasn't that bad in the first place. So, yeah. Yeah, I've had moments where I've wanted to go home. Never quite done it, but that's okay. I would never judge someone for having that rough of a time. In LARPing, can you create your character and respond to experiences of that character? Are you required to do the character you're given? I don't know any LARP. I don't know any LARP that expects you to essentially follow a script. People do. If you're given a character, then there's generally a reason why you've been given it. It's usually not just that, it fits the setting, but there is sort of a part of a story that they feel you would be right for. I've never been to a LARP where they've literally said, no, you can't react like that. You're expected to react like this. You're not in a play. It's a game and you are expected to enjoy yourself. You're expected to have fun. There are games where people will write characters for you, but I've never been to one where you have no input in that. They usually, if they write a character for you, are trying to tailor it in a way that fits the setting, but also means that you're going to get something out of it. So if there's someone telling you that you're reacting in a way that's not appropriate, then really that LARP character was not very well written in the first place. I mostly go to LARPs where you create your own character from scratch, and that is always interesting. And I like that kind of sort of creative freedom because it does allow me to sort of dictate my own experience and how I react to things. But yeah. I've never known anyone to sort of turn around and go, yeah, you shouldn't be reacting that way. That's terrible. No, never seen that happen. And if you go to a LARP where that happens, there's something fundamentally wrong with that LARP, not with you. Has LARP helped me become better at social activities in real life? Yes. I say social activities, probably not necessarily. LARP has made me really good at interviewing for jobs. For two reasons. One, because LARP is a really interesting thing to talk about when you're interviewing for a job. And it makes you stick in their head and definitely makes things interesting. But it does also make me feel more confident because I'm much more, despite the fact that I still feel like I'm being sort of imploded as I interview for anything. I can feel it here now. That my chest is kind of constricting and my throat is getting dry because I'm talking way too fast. But I'm still able to sort of go up and go, yeah, I can totally pretend that I'm competent and know what I'm doing in front of people because I do that in front of 40 players every few months at a LARP event when I tell them that I actually am a great archer. So I feel like LARP has made me feel much better at sort of, being able to stand up in front of people and go, yeah, look at me. Which to be honest, in various aspects of life is not necessarily a bad thing. At Empire, I had an event ruined. Oh, that's always a bad sentence. I'm very sorry you had an event ruined. Because someone stood outside a tent I was borrowing and criticised it for not being IC enough. Have you had anyone kit shame you? Oh, no, didn't know you were inside and were being really mean about it, made the area look bad. Well, I'm very sorry that happened, because that's another word for it. That's shit. That's shitty behaviour, and I don't like that at all. Have I ever had anyone kit shame me? Sorry. Not exactly. There was a big thing at the Law Interest a while back about people getting kit shamed, and that was generally seen as not pleasant or acceptable behaviour, and people it's very much frowned upon because there's a lot of reason why people have better kit than others. A lot of the time it's to do, and most of the time it's to do with circumstances outside of people's control, like money. Some people can't afford to go shopping on Arm Street every time they need a new costume. And that it really kind of sucks when people turn around and go, well, your costume should be better. Well, I'm doing the best I can. Well, that doesn't matter. It's like, that's crap. The closest thing I think I've ever had to kit shame was actually on my YouTube channel when I did my Ranger costume video, and someone took a strong objection to the fact that I was wearing blue instead of green. Which I kind of expected, but I thought it was a bit cheeky when I put a disclaimer like right at the start of the video saying my costume is blue and this is why, and I still got people going, oh, you shouldn't be blue. Kit shaming sucks. There's no other word for it. It's other than it's bullshit. You don't need that. It's 99% of the time people who have not got as good kit, and I say it in air quotes because good kit is a relative opinion. There's plenty of reasons why people's kit varies from one person to the other, and it can be creative differences, it can be budget, it can be that people just don't know. I mean, I always budget. For quite a few years, my costume was essentially a dress I got on Amazon with a cardigan I got off Amazon with a belt around it, and that was kind of my costume for a bit. And I hated it because I didn't feel like I looked very icy. It was very, very sort of cheap, like modern clothing. But I'll tell you this: no one said anything. No one said anything to me about it at all. And even when I mentioned it to a friend of mine, he literally looked at me and went, but your kit looks fine. It looks good. And I was like, no, it does not. No, it does not. But no one ever said anything to me. And I don't believe that's because they thought that my kit was fine. I believe it's because they're genuinely not awful people. And that kind of behavior is not acceptable, and it should never be acceptable. So, kit shaming is also dumb, because in my personal opinion, the only thing that ever really improves other people's costumes is seeing people in awesome costumes. Because all I ever do when I see people in awesome costumes is, oh, I wish I looked like that. And then I go and sort of look at places I can go and get those things and all that sort of thing, and then my costume improves because I see other people in awesome costumes. And kit shaming doesn't really work. It's like fat shaming. Fat shaming doesn't make people thin. And kit shaming is not going to make people dress better. What is going to make people dress better at LARP is just showing them how cool costumes can be. So basically, if you think people have such shitty costumes, improve your own. It's pretty much the way to go. There's always going to be these people around, and they're complete. And often these people are hypocritical because they'll turn around and go, "Yeah, well, your costume is rubbish," and then their girlfriend walks in who's in just as bad a costume as you. But that's fine because it's their girlfriend. Yeah, that's completely hypocritical and it's not acceptable. But yeah, it just sucks. And no one should be shamed for their tent. They shouldn't be shamed for their costume. They shouldn't be shamed for any of it because people. I don't know anyone who doesn't go to LARP and doesn't do the best they can because everyone wants to feel like an epic hero. It's not suitable for the race you chose in game. Who has decided that? I mean, come on, war paint looks cool. Yeah, time to get stuffed. I think war paint looks epic. Regardless. I mean, you see like people in like urban dystopias with war paint. In my opinion, anyone can wear war paint and look epic. And yeah, you do get these sort of people. Yeah, and Kai's talking about sort of the days before my time. Again, with people in jeans and their Metallica t-shirt and a 200-pound sword. And that's just people kind of prioritizing different things at LARP. And yeah, that doesn't look great either. But I bet you all those people who wore jeans and Metallica t-shirts suddenly looked around at people in sort of, epic coats and robes and all thing and armor and probably felt like they wanted to improve. And if not, they didn't. Odds are they stopped coming because I've not seen anyone in jeans and a Metallica t-shirt ever. So, yeah, I'm glad you've had a nice experience at LT. People, in my opinion, there are quite nice. There are exceptions because there's exceptions no matter where you go. But especially for like kit shaming stuff, I don't know anyone who sees that as acceptable behavior at LT, and if they do, they certainly don't speak about it. Tips for keeping track of stats for your character, especially in combat. In D&D, I have trouble remembering numbers and skills. Me too. I haven't played D&D in a long time because I struggle with numbers, and I've only just found out that D&D Beyond actually does it for you on your app, which makes me very sad because now I have no one to D&D with, but I can actually do it because I have, dice that roll for me. So yeah, I need to find a D&D group. Tips for keeping tracks and stats for your characters. I know stats are a bit of a rough thing because not every game has stats. Hit points are my big one where I struggle to keep track of because I have to remember, body hits and armor hits and if there's any magic armor hits, and it kind of just like math. What I tend to do when it comes to body hits is that I will try and just count all the hits as they come, especially if they're coming quickly. Lie down as if I'm dead, do the math, roughly work out where all they were, and if I shouldn't have fallen over, I'll get back up again. If I should have started falling over, I stay down. Usually you don't get pelted that much, but that's the best way sort of to do it. Basically, I step away, just sort of literally, I just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Just tap it as many times and just sort of do the counting. Like for spells, I have a clicker, the little sort of, ones that, click counters. I have one of those. I also have a little book that I got off Etsy. One of the, Sarah from the Bard's Guild, she's amazing. She has this little Etsy shop and she's got little spell books in them. And they've got little trackers that you can tick off how many spell cards you use for that particular game. They're for the Lori Trust. And they are authorized, and they're absolutely amazing things. And they're like £3 for one that lasts the entire year. It's so worth it. And basically, I use my click counter, then I look at it, and then I tick it off in the little book, and that sort of helps me keep track. Pen and paper, it's amazing stuff. But yeah, it is rather tricky in live combat, especially when you're getting. The best thing I literally do is just literally step back away from somewhere so I'm not getting pelted anymore, do the count, and fall over if I need to. It's not ideal, but it sounds really weird. The longer you do it, the more easier it is to keep track. I'm trying to play more games where I don't have to do that. Now I want some less mechanic heavy games. Yeah. Spent way more time talking about Lori and Trust than I thought I would. I do need to go to more games. I do need to go all over the place. I want to go to Witcher School in Poland. But I've heard there's not great experiences there either, so it's just like, where else do I want to go? What's the name? There's one in Germany and I can't remember what it's called. It's a really, really big one that Sonia's Adventures go to. I want to go to that and I can't remember its name because I'm tired and not thinking. Yeah, I want to go to a lot more big festival systems, but I also want to go to lots of smaller ones. Do I have any problems with character bleed? Yes. Yes, all the time. All the time. Character bleed is probably... Dragonfest, thank you, Kai. Character bleed sucks. It does, because... and it becomes worse because for me, in the fact that I constantly believe that I hate my life and that everyone hates it too. Which isn't true. I don't hate what happens to me and people don't hate me either. But my brain kind of goes that way. And so I'm often hypercritical of myself and how I acted at LARP. And therefore I'm also hypercritical of how other people treated me at LARP, which isn't fair because people treat you very different in character than they would in their real life. I know people who play arsehole characters and are the nicest, sweetest human beings on earth. And kind of getting that, putting that distance between it is a bit tricky and can lead to a lot of bleed because you sort of feel like, well, why was my friend so mean to me? That was really uncalled for, and you could spend weeks dwelling on it. And at the end of the day, it wasn't even something personal. In fact, they don't even remember it. So character bleed can be really rough, and I don't get affected as much as I used to. At least I don't think I do. I could be wrong. The thing is to kind of... One thing I find does help with character bleed is get yourself back into the real world. So, like, literally go home, order your favorite takeaway, because seriously, nothing says I'm away from a LARP event than greasy food that you can't get in a field. And sort of start pulling yourself back in there, and then just slowly sort of let it ease out. I always take like a day or two off after any LARP I go to, just so that I can kind of go, yeah, decompress, get over that emotional struggle, talk about how much I hated that person. And then by the time I actually see them, I probably didn't hate them that much in the first place. How do I get myself in and out of character? Well, into character, I tend to start with food. I tend to do both, start and end with food. So if I'm getting into character, I start with, things that I think my character would enjoy eating, and I have that for breakfast. And then, I get into my character kit as soon as I can, get the face paint on. And sort of make sure I've got all of her little sort of things. So Briar's got this necklace that's a big snowflake. It's kind of like the one from Once Upon a Time that Elsa had, because again, frozen nut. And she has that, and make sure that's on. I make sure she's got sometimes she has a little crown. She's got that on. She's got all these little trinkets she's gathered over time. She has those things, and it's only when I have those things that I feel like Briar. And so that's why I like to incorporate lots of interesting sort of little trinkets into my costumes, because it's a really good way for me to sort of get into character. Getting out of character, I pretty much get home and have a takeaway, have a shower. The order does change depending on how knackered I am. If I'm really knackered, eat first, then shower. And basically, you just kind of want something greasy and not that you get in a field. And I usually get Indian. I can nice curry with a big bit of naan bread. I would never been able to get on that field. And just sort of, that helps you get out of it. Just put on some crappy TV. I say crappy TV. I watch YouTube. I usually go home and just watch a ton of Azra and Momo O'Brien. And just it's more LARP, so it's not really helping. But yeah, just sort of crash on the table. Don't unpack. I never unpack the day when I get home from LARP. I unpack the next day and just sort of get back to being me before I start tackling any of that. So yeah, how do I get into some character? It all starts and ends with food. And I'll tell you more about it when I do immersive food episodes, which is going to be great. What will be essential equipment for the first event? Basic principles for LARP. How are you sleeping? How are you eating? How are you getting to and from there? And what are you wearing? Not necessarily in that order. So basically, first priorities when it comes to your, yes, you're going to get so many cooking episodes. It's going to be amazing. So basic principle of LARP is always how do you get there and how do you get back first. So make sure you've got either transport ticket, petrol, and enough money to get home again if everything goes wrong. It can vary, but my personal thing is I try to budget like £10 a day for each event I'm going to be there. So if I'm going away for like 4 days, I like know I have 40 quid that I can use to get home if everything goes wrong. It might not get me home, but it might get me a decent amount of way there. Obviously, this varies depending on how far away you are from where you live and how much, travel costs in your area. So yeah, that's always first priority. Second priority is always about how are you sleeping? So if you're sleeping in a wonderful bedroom because your LARP supplies you with one, brilliant. If not, do you need a sleeping bag? Do you need a pillow? Do you need a tent? Because a lot of LARPs camp, and camping is a big faff. So because when you're camping, you need a tent, you need a bed, you need a bed because you can't sleep on the floor. If you watch my LARP, go and watch my How to LARP in Winter video, which is literally the last one I just did, because it will explain to you exactly why you can't sleep on the floor. It actually goes through loads of this stuff as well. So yeah, make sure that you've got everything that you need to sleep. Make sure you've got pajamas as well. And it sounds really dumb, but if you're sleeping outside, make sure you've got layers to sleep in. Take hot water bottles, even if it's in summer, because summer nights can get freezing. Then it's what you're going to eat. If your LARP comes with a meal package, brilliant, problem solved. If not, you need to make sure you're eating hot meals at least twice a day, regardless of the season. And you need to make sure that your whatever you're eating is healthy and going to provide you energy. My friend, one of the people I admire most at LARP is a wonderful woman called Caggles. She runs a catering company, and her bane of the world is pot noodle. Do not eat pot noodles at LARP. It's not good for you. It won't make you happy, and it won't give you energy. So, yeah, make sure you plan meals properly. 2 hot meals twice a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. If you can do a third one, brilliant, but always at least 2. So that's where you get energy. Sorry about that. I don't have COVID. I have been tested, in case anyone was wondering. So yeah, where was I? Other essential equipment. So yeah, travel, sleeping, eating, clothing. Clean costume for every single day if you can. Wearing the same costume multiple days. You can probably get away with it, but you will smell awful, and especially if you've been running around and you're quite sweaty. Clean clothes every single day is my priority. Twice as much clean underwear and clean socks as you're planning on bringing. Bring twice as much because wet weather sucks, and you'll be surprised how many times you may end up sitting on the floor getting wet, and how many times your feet are going to get wet. Have good shoes. Have good shoes. There's a big thing in LARP, especially sort of in other countries, where people wear a variety of shoes, and like pirate boots and all things. They look great. They have terrible ankle support and they're rarely waterproof, and I hate them. UK LARP rules is generally costuming stops at the ankles. So basically the second you get to ankles downwards, wear proper footwear. I have some really great walking boots that are waterproof, and they're absolutely lovely, and they're really, really good, and they lace up, and it's great. And then I got some boot covers from them from Darkblade, which was the biggest godsend I ever have. So now I've got they look like big dwarf leather boots because I have giant chunky legs, and they're epic. So yeah, if there's anything, if you forget everything if you forget everything when it comes to going to LARP, always remember to bring good footwear and enough money to get home. And don't spend that money on food, trust me. And then you should be theoretically fine as long as you have at least those few things. Do I now do any crafts or other hobbies as a result of being a LARPer? Yes, I do YouTube. And I wish I was joking, but yeah, I do YouTube because I wanted to talk more about LARP. I wanted to tell more people about LARP, and I thought this would be a good medium to do so. So because of LARP, I do this, which sounds like a really sort of fob off of your question. I'm very sorry for that, but that's because I literally have no other creative outlets. Other hobbies have been sort of LARP. To be honest, other hobbies I do sort of being LARP are generally because of the people I meet through LARP. So sometimes I do like role-playing games and stuff and things like that. Crafting, I'm not very good at it. And I wish I was. And I tried to learn it. I've tried to learn to sew, and I've tried to learn other bits. And I'm just not very good. I am trying to learn to cook, though, because I think LARP cooking is definitely something fun. And not a lot of people do that. So you can watch, you can watch that disaster happen as it comes out online. That'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, so YouTube, but I think, I want to do LARP cooking. I want friends to do LARP cooking with. I feel like my ideal end game for LARP would be to run an inn. Other LARPs I've been to, how they provide food, how accommodating are they usually with dietary restrictions? Very. Very. I have never been to a LARP where, I've never been to have a catered LARP where they haven't asked what dietary restrictions are and what allergies people have. And that is always because I have never gone to a LARP that hasn't been catered professionally. And the one time, well, that's not true. That's a complete lie. I'm very sorry. I say lie. It wasn't a lie because I didn't remember. I have been to LARPs where it wasn't catered professionally, and even then they still asked. It's like, obviously, like, allergies and dietary needs have always been important, but it's now one of those things in culture where they are more important than ever. More people are going vegan, more people are vegetarian, more people with things like gluten intolerances and dairy intolerances are being diagnosed properly every day. And let's face it, LARPs never get reviewed well if you poison the guests. No LARP wants their players to go away poisoned. So when it comes to LARP catering, I have yet to find any of them that haven't asked about dietary needs, asked about allergies, and have not been certified for food safety, which is a key one. So, there is nothing, you should not expect to go to a LARP and not be taken care of in things that they are. If they tell you they're providing food, that it is minimum expectation that the person who's giving the food has a food safety certificate and is aware of all allergies and all dietary requirements. That's like minimum standard, and if they're not hitting that, that's a problem. Right. I'm going to have a few more questions. Debbie, in regards to what you're saying about, are you referring to sort of like catering trucks at LARP? Because that's not quite what I'm talking about. Because if there's catering trucks, like, because in England it's like festival trucks, so there's like, burger vans and like crepes and jacket potatoes and that kind of thing, and noodle bars. We get all sorts of varieties now. If I'm going to like a smaller LARP, like over the winter, where I've paid 80 quid for a ticket, and I'm expecting that LARP to be catered because it's been advertised as catered. They absolutely should be providing for you if anyone is lactose intolerant, has celiac disease, has any of that, and if they don't have that, that is a massive concern, because that is the minimum, standard for catering of any of these kind of events. If you're self-catering, obviously you can manage it yourself. If it's things like burger vans, it's quite tricky. I mean, I'm pescatarian, so I struggle in lots of places because that's tricky to do, despite the fact of being relatively flexible. Yeah, food tree. I want to talk. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. I know I have to keep saying it. I'm gonna do more things about food at LARP, and we'll look at. And I'll have a look at dietary requirements and that as well, because there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do these things and not have dairy-free stuff, or gluten-free stuff. That should all be a thing. I'm just talking nonsense now. We should chat, Debbie. We must chat. We will come up with a plan for proper food, me and you. We can be friends. This is going to be interesting. Right. It's coming up to 10:30, and I have to actually go to work tomorrow because apparently I have a job. So throw in some last few questions, and I will answer as many of them as I can. Short answers preferred over long ones, but I will still do long ones. So last opportunity. If none appear before 10:30. Oh, no, here they come. Do your LARPs ever do a potluck, or do they normally just serve everyone as a whole? Usually serve everyone as a whole if it's being catered. I don't really go to events where... Oh, it's kind of complicated because I've never been to an event where people have gone, right, everyone brings something and that's how we'll feed everybody. Because food safety and all that sort of thing, it's kind of sounds that it's like it's just a health. It can be a health hazard waiting to happen, and I know it's not always, but people don't take care of themselves at LARP. If it's catered, they tend to serve everyone as a whole. If it's not catered and you're going with your friends, I don't see any reason why you can't do some form of potluck. You guys call it potluck. In Britain, it's got a stupid word, and I hate the word, and it's called a fuddle, and I hate fuddle. I want to call it potluck because it's a much better word. And in terms of the English language, it's one place I definitely agree you guys win on that one, because fuddle is a stupid word. Yeah, if it's catered, they mostly serve everyone. If it's not, then, you can do as you like. Tips for places to get costume when you're pint-sized, and a lot of places don't stock your size. Etsy. Etsy is great because you get a lot of people on there, and you can talk to. You get a lot of people on there with who make lots of varieties of different things, and most of them, if you talk to them about something a little bit more custom, they'll do it, and often for not too much more money. It's not ideal, and I get that about not wanting to pay extra money for stuff. I'm plus size. I'm not pint size. I'm plus size, and that means that I also struggle to find a costume that fits me. Holy clothing is really good. I know I remember Brian really loves holy clothing. I like holy clothing as well, because they do extra small and extra large. Arm Street's really good if you're willing to spend money, because they will do stuff to your custom size as well. It's tricky. If you want something that's probably more cost effective, go to Etsy. If you're not minding spending money in like quality, Arm Street and Holy Clothing can be kind of in the middle. Yeah, have I attended at private events for LARP such as banquets? I have. I've been to some banquets. Loring Trust is really good for this because lots of the guilds, especially, and like some of the factions like to do banquets. The Hearts are great for banquets. They just do their full Arthurian long tables with roasted meats, and they'll do on the full court kind of thing. I don't know if they're jesters, but I bet you they have jesters. They have musicians. It's very Arthurian court, and they have like one evening banquets. The Bards did one a while back. That was absolutely great as well. Lots of performances and music and a ton of food. The Alchemist did one as well. That was great. And somehow no one died. Despite the fact that literally one of my wonderful friend who's a serial killer, did hand a bottle to me, and he went, don't drink that. And I went, why, will I die? And I went, yes. And he went, yeah. And he went, yes. And I went, but will I die? And he went, yes. At that point, I kind of shoved the bottle back. But yeah, so Banquets and stuff tend to be like one night stuff. You can rarely make a banquet like that go on for more than one night. But yes, I have been to them and they are epic. I would recommend them to anybody. Lighters are not scissors. No, they are not. And we won't go into that, but not. Berkshire is wonderful for plus size stuff as well. I do like Berkshire. I have a Berkshire chemise that I use as a nightie because it is that comfortable. So yes, I would very much recommend Berkshire. Right. Any last questions? Well, I'll wait for one to possibly appear because I know there's a slight delay on this. But, oh, here we go. What's the best piece of advice I've ever been given myself for LARP? Best piece of advice I was ever given. If you're not enjoying yourself, try something new. You are not stuck if you are not enjoying your character, if you are not enjoying, whatever your character might be doing, if you're not enjoying the game you're in, you are not obligated to keep doing that for the sake of roleplay. You can change your character's personality without losing the character. You can change what aspect of the game you're playing in. You can change so much. Because at the end of the day, you are there to have fun, and you are not obligated to not have fun for the sake of other people. So do whatever makes you happy. To kind of cliche that over. Hello, cute queen. I'm really sorry. We're about to stop in the next few minutes. I am really sorry. Unless you have any questions you want to throw right now, because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. Do I like ice cream? Yes. If anyone ever wanders through Derbyshire in England, look up Bluebell's ice cream. It's the best. There is no better ice cream. It's as good as Ben & Jerry's. Thank you. I'm really glad you've enjoyed the stream. I've actually enjoyed it. I was paranoid I was going to be sitting here for ages talking to myself, and there have actually been people. I am really sorry, cute queen. I will do another stream at some point because this has actually been really, really fun. I might do one for around New Year's if anyone wants me to do a live stream around New Year's, not New Year's Eve because I know you've all got better things to do than talk to me. Sort of in like first week or two of January, I might do another one. Thank you very much for coming. I've had the best time. Thank you so much for helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. That has been such wonderful. It has been so nice chatting to you all. I've had a wonderful evening. I hope you'd have too. We'll talk again. And as I say at the end of every episode in a rather cheesy way, I will see you all on the battlefield soon.